The internet cannot stop talking. Tiny Harris has been arrested, and now T has finally broken down. What started as a seemingly minor argument between two friends has spiraled into one of the darkest, most confusing scandals Atlanta has ever seen. A shaky 90-second clip, replayed millions of times, shows Tiny shouting with tears streaming down her face before being dragged away by police. But beyond the headlines and hashtags, beyond the viral clips and screaming commentary, something much bigger is quietly brewing. Because just hours after Tiny's arrest, Kandi Burruss's family leaked a series of private recordings that could completely upend the narrative. Hidden messages, secret calls, and whispers of betrayal suggest that Tiny's arrest may have never been meant to happen at all. T has gone silent since that night, seen pacing outside his studio, his eyes bloodshot and his voice shaking. Those close to him say he is not just heartbroken, he is terrified. Terrified because someone out there knows the truth. And if what's contained in those leaked recordings is accurate, then this scandal is no longer about friendship, fame, or loyalty. It's about control, it's about power, and it's about discovering who is pulling the strings behind it all. The public saw drama, but T saw betrayal. Every night since the incident, he has replayed that same 90-second clip over and over, freezing on Tiny's face, trying to find the precise moment when everything fell apart. The sound of glass breaking, the blur of motion, the look in Tiny's eyes before the camera cuts to black. He has memorized every frame, trying to piece together the puzzle that has consumed the city. That clip is more than a scandal. It's a symbol, a snapshot of the exact second where years of friendship, fame, and quiet resentment collided violently. Tiny, the woman T married, the woman who was loyal, fierce, and protective, looked nothing like the person he loved in that clip. And now, T is left asking the same questions that millions have typed into comment sections around the world. Who wanted this to happen, and why now? He knows Tiny has enemies, but none of them could have accessed that private lounge. None could have known precisely when to hit record. Rumors began to circulate almost immediately. Sources claimed that a member of Kandi's own family leaked a set of voice notes and screenshots revealing a plan far bigger than anyone had anticipated. These messages suggested that the confrontation between Tiny and Kandi was not spontaneous, but orchestrated. Somebody had been manipulating both women for weeks, feeding them selective information, twisting their emotions, and pushing them to the breaking point until finally the stage was set for chaos. One message read simply, "Cameras ready." Another message, shorter and chilling, read, "Catch him, not her." The internet erupted with speculation over the meaning of those words. Did him refer to T or someone else entirely? Was this a targeted attack within Atlanta's music industry, or something more personal and dangerous? As the fans dissected every frame and analyzed every message, T withdrew further into himself. He stopped answering calls, refused interviews, and kept his distance from the world he had once dominated, all while trying to shield those he loves from the storm that was raging online. Meanwhile, Kandi's family did nothing to quell the fire. They continued posting vague statements and half-confessions online, messages that seemed to toe the line between revelation and threat. One cousin went live on Instagram, claiming to have proof that would make the internet stop breathing. The video was quickly deleted, but clips of it spread across platforms like wildfire. In the short footage, the cousin cryptically claimed that Tiny was being blamed for the wrong reasons, and that the setup did not begin with her, it started with the person she trusted most. Fans froze the video, zoomed in, read lips, twisted every word into theories, trying to connect dots that may have been impossible to connect. This wasn't just a public argument anymore. It was a full-blown maze of deception and secrecy, a psychological battlefield where every statement, every leak, and every clip could have multiple hidden meanings. Tiny's lawyers worked quietly to protect her, keeping her out of public view until the legal system could intervene. But silence has a cost. Every hour that passed without an official word allowed bloggers, YouTube channels, and gossip outlets to create narratives, fuel speculation, and pit fans against each other as if they were juries in a courtroom with no judges.
Late one night, a journalist reached out to T's team with a warning. More leaks were coming. A drive containing security camera footage from inside the lounge, footage never released by police, was circulating among gossip outlets. If true, it meant someone on the inside was still feeding the fire, continuing the campaign of exposure and manipulation. T knows the entertainment world better than anyone, and he knows that nothing leaks without a purpose. This footage, if released, could ruin reputations, expose hidden deals, and reveal names that were meant to stay buried. The next morning, social media was already ablaze with speculation. A verified gossip page posted a blurred image of a text thread captioned, "He finally knows." People assumed he meant T. Within minutes, hashtags like #HeKnows, #TinySetup, and #CandyLeak began trending. And hours later, a song snippet appeared on T's Instagram story. No caption, no context, just him rapping, "They tried to catch me slippin', caught her instead." The snippet vanished within an hour, but not before fans recorded it, interpreting it as confirmation that Tiny wasn't the target and that the entire night may have been orchestrated to ensnare someone else in Atlanta's music circles. Whispers grew louder. Analysts and fans began suggesting that the scandal was no longer about jealousy or friendship. It was about a crumbling business empire. Tiny and Kandi had merged their efforts into multiple projects, music, endorsements, and even a new docu-series slated to begin filming. All of it is now frozen, with sponsors pulling out, streaming platforms reevaluating deals, and networks reconsidering content. The more money disappears, the clearer it becomes that someone benefits from the chaos. For T, the financial loss is secondary. The most painful blow is the loss of trust. The people he thought were friends are selling stories. The fans he thought were loyal are demanding answers. And the woman he loves is trapped in silence. Every night he returns to that 90-second clip, studying Tiny's expressions, searching for hints of anger, realization, or awareness that the fight was a setup. And every time he does, the same haunting question returns. Who is orchestrating this from the shadows? Tiny, meanwhile, has been isolated, advised by her legal team to stay offline, away from the social media frenzy that has consumed Atlanta. But according to a close friend, the isolation has driven her to keep her own meticulous record. She has been writing down every message, every meeting, every strange coincidence leading up to that night, creating a timeline that she hopes will clear her name. She even noticed a camera in the lounge that did not belong to the standard setup, placed at a different angle. When she mentioned it to police, they brushed it off, but to her, it was proof that somebody had prepared for this night long before it happened. Days later, Kandi broke her silence, not with a live stream or a public statement, but with a cryptic teaser video on Instagram, a 10-second clip, black background, slow piano music, and faint crying. Fans claimed to hear Tiny's voice in the background saying, "You promised me no one would get hurt." If true, it confirmed that the drama ran deeper than anyone realized, suggesting hidden alliances, betrayals, and plans far beyond a public spat. The following morning, news outlets reported that Kandi's family was preparing to release a folder of evidence to clear her name. According to some sources, the folder contained contracts, text messages, and proof that the fight had been staged for a now-canceled reality special. Others claimed the files contained evidence of a cover-up, linking the incident to financial transactions involving Tiny, T, and Kandi. One journalist from Atlanta Weekly published a story about the evidence, only to have the article vanish hours later and the journalist's profile went private. But the headline had already gone viral, and T reportedly panicked upon reading it. Calls to his publicist, lawyers, and contacts in the press yielded nothing. Everyone seemed too afraid to speak. For the first time, he realized the depth of the machine he was up against. This was no longer about clout, attention, or jealousy. This was about leverage, and someone had the power to ruin all three of them. An anonymous post soon appeared on social media. "He's getting too close. Shut it down." Screenshots circulated faster than any denial could catch up. Fans believed the post confirmed T was investigating privately, perhaps even attempting to uncover the mastermind behind the leaks. Conspiracy channels claimed he had hired cybersecurity firms to trace the origin of the files. Meanwhile, Paparazzi captured T exhausted, avoiding eye contact, jaw tight, every movement revealing the mental and emotional toll. Lawyers attempted to negotiate plea deals for Tiny, hoping to avoid trial, but the prosecution refused. And then finally, Tiny's team confirmed she was ready to go public. But hours before her scheduled livestream, a cryptic video surfaced online. A shadowy figure scrolling through files labeled confidential, with a caption, "If she speaks, we release this." The threat worked. Tiny's livestream never happened, and her accounts went dark.
T posted one line on his story that night: "They won't scare us forever." It was a simple statement, but the fear behind it was palpable. He knows the storm is far from over. Overnight, anonymous messages suggested that Tiny was not the only one being targeted, accompanied by distorted audio clips that whispered, "You think they care about justice? They care about distraction, then silence." T realized the leaks, the timing, and the strategy were too deliberate. Someone was running a media machine, feeding selective information to keep the public talking while hiding a much larger agenda. By midnight, a private investigator discovered that several of the original leaked clips had originated from a single IP address linked to a media company recently contracted with a major streaming platform. That platform is rumored to be producing a docuseries about celebrity betrayal, manipulation, and scandal. The implication was terrifying. Could it be that everything, the fight, the leaked files, the viral clips, had been orchestrated for entertainment? Was this a scandal designed to manipulate an audience, trap careers, and profit from the chaos of real lives? The final blow came when a grainy video leaked showing T in a private meeting saying, "They used her to get to me." Taken out of context, the clip looked like a public confession, but in reality, it was a private conversation recorded without consent. The damage was immediate. Headlines exploded, social media erupted, and yet, Tiny called T for the first time in days, her voice shaking. "They're not going to stop. You saw what they did to me. You're next." T's response was calm but resolute. "People deserve to know. If we speak, maybe it stops." Her answer chilled him. "You think speaking will save us? But they already wrote the ending." However, the atmosphere was so thick that it almost had a taste. Reporters whispered into phones while their cameras captured every minute detail. The murmurs of anticipation floated like smoke throughout the room. And then, without warning, the courtroom doors opened. Kandi Burruss entered with a calm but lethal precision, her expression unreadable, her eyes sharp and cold, holding the palm of someone who had already decided to burn everything to the ground. Every head turned instantly, the collective energy of the room pivoting toward her as if gravity itself had shifted. Tiny shifted in her seat, hands clenched so tightly that her nails dug into her palms. And in that moment, it became painfully clear that she was not prepared for what was about to happen. No one was. Kandi stepped forward to the witness stand with the grace of someone who moved like a storm dressed in silk. She didn't speak immediately. Instead, she surveyed the room. First Tiny, then the judge, and finally the line of reporters ready to pounce on the next explosive headline. When she finally spoke, her voice was controlled, measured, and deliberate, slicing through the tension like a scalpel. "Your Honor, I was asked to share something today that I've kept to myself for a very long time. It's about the Harris family." The words hung in the room like smoke, slowing time for everyone present. Pens froze mid-stroke, cameras clicked, capturing the moment in which history was being rewritten. Tiny's lawyer shot up from her seat, voice tight and composed, attempting to restore order. "Your Honor, this is a personal matter, irrelevant to the case," she said, trying to assert control. But Kandi didn't hesitate. She reached into her bag and placed a small flash drive on the evidence table. "This," she said simply, "is proof." The judge, wary but compelled, nodded for the clerk to play it. Static crackled through the courtroom speakers, building tension until a voice emerged, low, familiar, deliberate. It was Clifford T. Harris, Tiny's husband, speaking in a tone halfway between a whisper and a command. "They don't need to know everything. Not yet. We handle it quietly." Another voice, distinctly female, responded. "And it wasn't Tiny's. You really think Kandi's going to keep her mouth shut?" T answered confidently, "She will. She's got just as much to lose as I do." The courtroom erupted. Gasps pierced the air, cameras clicked like gunfire. Tiny's body stiffened, eyes darted toward T, who sat rigid, expression unreadable, holding himself together as if by invisible threads. Kandi didn't need to look at him. The reaction on Tiny's face spoke volumes. There was disbelief, anger, heartbreak, and the crushing weight of betrayal, all entwined in a single glance. The judge slammed his gavel in vain, calling for order, but it was already too late. The truth, or something close to it, had been set loose into the room and into the world. Kandi's voice then cut through the residual chaos, quiet but sharp, carrying the weight of someone who had carried secrets for far too long. "I didn't want to do this," she said, "but I've been protecting people who would never protect me." Her eyes flicked to Tiny, and there was a finality to the glance that silenced even the murmurs of the courtroom. Outside, social media ignited in real time. Headlines multiplied within seconds. Kandi Burruss drops bombshell, exposes Harris family secrets. Clips of the testimony leaked almost immediately, showing Tiny breaking down and Kandi standing firm, composed, unflinching in the eye of the storm. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds. Some called Kandi brave, others called her a traitor. But the magnitude of what had unfolded was undeniable. This was far bigger than anyone had expected. Inside, Tiny sat frozen, the weight of every word pressing into her chest like a physical force. Memories that she had tried to bury rose sharply. Late-night arguments, whispered lies, doubts she had shared with no one, and the heavy feeling of being half loved and half deceived. She had believed in loyalty, that Kandi would never cross the line. But in that instant, she watched the friend she trusted most weaponize that loyalty into evidence, a weapon precise and devastating. When recess was called, Tiny rose slowly, each step deliberate, like she was carrying invisible chains. T didn't meet her gaze. Instead, he whispered something to his lawyer and walked away, surrounded by the chaos of reporters swarming in the hallway. Kandi followed shortly after, surrounded by her team, moving through the throng of cameras and microphones, her face calm, her resolve absolute. "Was this revenge?" a reporter demanded. Kandi's voice, low and measured, carried over the crowd. "Sometimes the truth doesn't wait for the right moment. It shows up when there's nowhere left to hide." Tiny's hands trembled as she remained seated, watching the world, her private world, explode in ways she could no longer control. The story did not stop with the courtroom. Almost immediately, clips from the hearing circulated across social media, news outlets, and gossip pages, each iteration more sensational than the last. Screenshots, blurry photos, half-baked rumors about hidden money and secret deals flooded timelines. Then an anonymous post appeared, cryptic but provocative. "The real truth drops tonight. Watch the footage. She's not innocent." Attached was a short, grainy security clip. Kandi in a parking garage, handing a small envelope to someone whose face remained obscured. Tiny recognized the location immediately. Her pulse raced as she replayed the clip over and over, disbelief and dread intertwining. Across town, Kandi's phone vibrated incessantly. Managers, lawyers, and PR teams demanded a statement to mitigate the damage. But Kandi, exhausted and resolute, stared at her phone and whispered, "They're already burying me. No statement will change that." Meanwhile, T remained silent, his public presence non-existent. But behind the scenes, the wheels were turning. Rumors swirled that he was gathering proof that Kandi had orchestrated everything. Others speculated that he had hired private investigators to trace the leaks. The tension was palpable, a ticking bomb time, and Atlanta itself seemed to pulse with speculation and chaos. Radio stations replayed courtroom audio on loop, gossip sites dissected every frame, live streams debated motives, Fans and followers were divided into factions, each claiming to understand the truth, but the truth itself remained elusive. Late into the evening, Tiny's phone buzzed again. An anonymous message appeared. He told her to play it, but she added something. Tiny's stomach dropped. Her hands shook as she dialed Kandi's number. The voicemail picked up. "Kandi, it's me," Tiny whispered. "I need to know the truth. Please, just tell me it wasn't you." The silence on the other end was deafening. Outside, thunder roared and rain battered the windows. Atlanta was drowning in the storm, both literal and metaphorical. Kandi, in a soundproof studio, faced the chaos, pacing as news alerts flooded in. Her lawyer pleaded with her to deny, to spin, to release a statement, but she shook her head. "It wasn't edited. I wasn't blackmailed." And then, as her phone buzzed again, a message appeared. Phase 3 begins. Weeks of encrypted, untraceable messages had prepared them for this. Someone was still orchestrating events from the shadows, manipulating every leak, every rumor, every perception. Across the city, T sat alone in his office, blinds drawn, lights dimmed. His laptop displayed a video editing timeline, the courtroom audio loaded and scrutinized in minute detail. He slowed it, zoomed in on the waveform, isolating voices. He discovered a faint, imperceptible digital scar. 2 recordings spliced together. Someone had altered the evidence. Heart pounding, he picked up the phone and dialed a number he hadn't called in years. The voice on the other end was cold. "You sure you want to open that door again?" "I already did," T replied. By midnight, another video surfaced online. Grainy security footage of Kandi stepping into a black SUV with someone already in the back seat. Tiny was stunned. No sound, no explanation, just a timestamp and faces frozen in tension. The caption read, "They met before the hearing, the deal was made." The internet exploded once again, reaction channels dissecting every detail, conspiracy theories multiplying by the second. Tiny's hands trembled as she dialed Kandi once more. This time, Kandi answered. There was a long silence, the weight of unspoken truths pressing down like a physical force. "You knew about the video?" Tiny asked, her voice cracking. "I didn't post it, but you knew. I tried to warn you. You just wouldn't listen," Kandi replied. The line went dead. Outside, rain lashed violently against the courthouse windows. Somewhere in a dimly lit room filled with dozens of monitors, a figure leaned back, observing. Every headline, every meltdown, every viral clip, synchronized, controlled, orchestrated. "They're doing exactly what we wanted. Now let's see who breaks first," the voice murmured. The truth in the scenario was never the goal. Control, manipulation, and narrative were. By the time anyone realized it, it would already be too late. The web of connections grew deeper. Overlapping PR firms, shared managers, former collaborators with stakes in the chaos. T realized this was no longer just a personal matter. This was the system they built their careers in, a machine thriving on exposure and ruin. Just before midnight, the anonymous account that had started it all posted a final message. This was never about fame, it was about silence. Watch who stops talking next. And then it vanished, wiped clean. The pattern was clear. The orchestrator behind the leaks, the videos, and the manipulation was controlling every narrative, monitoring every move, and feeding the public just enough drama to keep them blind to the truth. So now the question is this: what really happened that night in Atlanta? Was Tiny set up to distract the world from something bigger? Was T the real target all along? Or is this entire scandal a manufactured storm, a scripted series designed to feed an insatiable media machine while lives are torn apart in the process? The truth may never be fully known, but one thing is certain. Every time a leak drops, every time a new clip goes viral, the story becomes more dangerous, more complex, and more impossible to untangle. And that's where you come in. I want to hear what you think. Drop your theories in the comments below. Who do you think is really pulling the strings behind this mess? Was Tiny a pawn, or is T the target? Is Kandi involved, or is someone else manipulating all of them? If you've been following this from the beginning, hit the like button so more people can see the full story. And subscribe, because the next leak, the next message, the next twist could change everything again. Stay alert, stay curious, and never take the internet at face value, especially when the truth is worth more than silence.